Hey, Jessica. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am beyond excited to be able to chat with you because I know that we have this one thing in common, which is that we both grew up in the family business. So I want to be able to talk to you a little bit about that. But first, I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Hey, Deb. I am Jess Slaydon, and I am the oldest of four from a family business. And I grew up here in Grand Rapids, moved away for about a decade, came back about 7 years ago already. I can make this introduction super long, so you're just going to have to jump in here and say, all right, Jess, that's good. But I am
Give us all the info.
I am vice president for Swift Printing and Communications, which we're down on Bridge Street in Grand Rapids.
Awesome. So I am curious, what has been your experience working with your family?
Well, I mean, I think it's a double-edged sword, right? There's always a lot of love there, and it's great because we have the relationship to be able to be open to talk about anything. But then also it's very easy to, want to cross boundaries and like bring something up that's personal when you're at work and bring something up about work when it's, Sunday dinner. So I will say it's definitely been a very fun journey of like learning how to balance that. And no family's perfect, right? So we're still navigating that. I'm 34. We still work really hard on that. But I absolutely love it. I've worked several other places, and being able to work with my parents and my brother at the office, it just brings me so much joy because not only do I love what I'm doing, and I always joke like, okay, was it the chicken before the egg? Like, did I love printing, or is it because I like was born into the family that like now I love it because I just am around it all the time? But I wouldn't do it any other way. Let's put it that way. I left beautiful sunny Florida to come back to Michigan to work with all the crazy printers. So I like it a lot.
I love it. Yeah, growing up with a family business, family vacations, we're taking business trips, and like family dinners meant talking about work. Like I definitely have to admit, our family was not good about that boundary line. If it was dinner and we were all together, we're probably going to be ending up talking about work. But one thing, I'm curious to hear your experience. So mine was growing up, I would go to the office with Dad and like just play in the office. And that was just normal. And I realize now as an adult that I'm like, oh, it's not normal that kids go to work with their parents.
Yeah. No, same thing, especially in the summer times. My mom, because there was four of us, would send us to work a fair amount with our dad. And, we're in a building that has the foundations from the 1800s, and it's got a really cool basement with a lot of cool, fun stuff. And so we would have a riot running around that print shop. We had to do work too. Like, we were responsible for sweeping and cleaning the sinks. And as we got older, we actually had to work. But my dad worked so hard in his 20s and 30s. He actually had like a twin size mattress up above his office. Because he would literally sleep there sometimes because he was just busting his butt. And obviously that's not weird when you're a kid thinking your dad has a mattress at the office. But us kids would like sneak up there and like take naps in it. And as I say this out loud, and your viewers are kind of probably think like, what the heck? Why is there a mattress at the office? But it's because he literally worked all the time. And that was where he could like get in a quick nap before he like came home to be there right before, we got up from school. Because us kids really didn't realize how hard my parents were working at the time. You're a kid, you just think like, yeah, Dad goes to work, whatever. But he would go to work after we went to bed and then come back before we had breakfast. And then go to work after that. Like, it was very unhealthy, I think, period of his life. But, it definitely worked good for us kids having like a happy, normal childhood with our parents. Yeah, we had a great time running around the print shop, and I have really, really fond memories. And in fact, I take my kids there now too, hoping to foster the same type of experiences as for them as well. So, yeah.
I think that's so funny that you mentioned the mattress because my dad actually had one too. in his
Oh
office.
my gosh, Deb. That's so funny.
Because he would come home, eat dinner with us, and then he would still have work to do. So after dinner, like closer to bedtime, he would go back to work and then get some sleep in, and then he would, wake up, go back to work, like getting work done while he was already sleeping at work, and then come home the next day so he could eat dinner with the family.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so probably not healthy, work-life balance, but it definitely instilled a work ethic that you work hard and you do what it takes to get it done.
Right. Yeah, totally.
And that's definitely one thing that I personally learned from watching my dad work really, really hard is even if something failed, he's like, okay, cool. So that didn't work. It doesn't mean that I quit. Like,
Yeah.
I get up and I keep trying again.
Right.
You know what? Trial and error. And it's okay. And it's nothing that he ever beat himself up about.
Yeah. That's so cool. And what are the odds? We'll have to have our dads for like coffee or something sometime. Well, my
Right?
dad doesn't drink coffee, but
You both
sometime
have
like, hey, you guys.
unhealthy work ethics.
But yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way because I really,
No.
same thing with you, Deb. I feel like I wouldn't have that work ethic instilled in me if it weren't for like watching my parents, work as hard as they did. So yeah, it was a good thing.
Same here. And I like that you mentioned that you bring your kids to work now, because I do the same thing, because I know what that was like growing up. Then I'm like, oh, I learned some really valuable lessons of seeing how hard my parents worked. And I want to be able to show my kid the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
So how is it? So that was growing up, but how is it now working with your parents? If you like ever have anything that you're like, I think that we should be doing this a different way, like bringing in those new ideas when they've been doing it for years.
Well, most of the time I'd say it goes pretty well. They're pretty receptive because they always can reflect being the second generation from their family business. So they can look on to their past experience of when they brought ideas to, their parents. So fortunately, I have some pretty open-minded parents, especially on bringing new ideas to the table. Now, don't get me wrong, it has to be, presented in a very respectful way because obviously it's worked very well the way they've done things. So I just always want to set it up with it from a point of respect so they know that I am honoring what they built and what they did. But then sometimes it's just like, we have to just change this. It's just has to be changed. And my number one, the number one pet peeve at the office for me is, and I think a lot of businesses have this struggle. I think corporations have to hear like, well, because corporate said so. And I think with businesses that have been around a while, it's because we've always done it that way. And it's not necessarily that it's the best way to do it. It's just what you're familiar with. And as humans, like we like to take the path of least resistance, and it worked good last time. And so we can kind of get in that perpetual rotation of being like, well, we did it. Why should we change it? It's not broken. It's like, well, if we can find a new way that's better. Now, I do sometimes gravitate towards like change for the sake of change, which is not good either, because if it isn't broken, don't change it. I'm one of those people that I'm like, oh, let's just change the color of paper every month because then it's fun. And we'll like blue is February, pink was, that's a little bit crazy. But so those ideas, fortunately, I cut myself off before I even suggest them. But yeah, we have a pretty good open dialogue and platform for presenting ideas to each other. So, yeah.
So going back to the family dinners and the work-life balance of having a mattress in the office, how do you practice boundaries between work and life?
Oh, I'm horrible at it. I have no boundaries. That is something like every year I put on my vision board. I'm like, this year's going to be different. I am going to like not be on my phone all the time or not do that. But because of the flexibility that I'm given, well, you can hear my son in the background doing some remote learning and I'm able to be there for them, that I kind of am always available 24/7. If a customer needs me, if a colleague needs me, I'm going to answer the phone. And I don't really dislike it. There was time periods in my life where I thought I needed to have better work balance. And I thought like something was wrong with me because I didn't strive for that. And I was actually at the event planning event that they do in Grand Rapids, where you can like learn how to throw an event in Grand Rapids, and they walk you through each step. And I asked Miranda, because we all love Miranda in our 30s, because she was the it girl when we were kids, right? Everyone loves Miranda. Talk about someone who can really awesomely reinvent themselves. Yes, sir. Upstairs with your brother. So I asked her, I said, how do you like balance it all, Miranda? And she said the same thing. She was like, I'm a workaholic and I love it. And if I stop loving it, then I won't do it anymore. And I was like, oh, I'm normal. Okay, cool. Thanks, Miranda. Like, once again, my childhood idol is, blowing my mind in my 30s. So I'm not good at work-life balance. My sister, who's a few years younger than me, we talk almost every morning, and she'll say the same thing, like, Jess, you probably should like not try to be a machine. And I'm like, I'm trying, but I really enjoy it. And if it ever becomes a time in my life where I don't enjoy it, then I will. But until I reach that point, or my husband says, Jess, chill.
Yeah.
I'm just going to kind of keep going on this pattern. And that's kind of our rule. As long as I don't bring the stress home, I leave it in the car, kind of have my routine, like, okay, like I can't bring any stress that was going on home with me, where if Jake, I can't be snappy with him, because then I know I have too much on my plate. So
yeah.
And he's very good at pointing that out. So yeah, that's the indicator. As long as I'm treating my husband like a normal human being, then I'm allowed to put as much on my plate. As soon as I cross that threshold, then I have to take something off. So
yeah, I love what Miranda said. And personally, I love work. Like, I love what I do. I love working. You know how sometimes, like, okay, this is just an example. You'll be doing like an interview thing, and they're like, oh, well, what's your hobby? It's working.
yeah.
But you're right. Like, it's a healthy balance that when you realize it's becoming a problem, or when you don't enjoy it anymore, then you take steps to fix that. But even, and I don't know where your dad is right now as of like the business. So my dad retired from his business.
Okay.
And then he started another one. Like, he just loved working so much that he couldn't sit and do nothing. So he went and started another business.
Too fun. I don't know. My dad keeps talking about being in an advisory role, and get less out of the day-to-days, which he is more so that way. But yeah, it's just, I feel like I'm a hard worker, but I don't work nearly as hard as he did or his grandpa did. Like, they just talk about working your hardest. So I don't know. My dad, was a city commissioner for 2 terms and then got term limited. And a lot of people have suggested that, he should be mayor of Grand Rapids. I don't know if anything's going to happen with that, or if he's going to pursue that. But I think that would be a great transition for him, because I think he would be really, really good at it. And it would be a nice, like I said, that for us, then he could be more an advisor, because he would be in that, that would be his primary focus. But we'll see what my mom allows. You don't never know. So. Yeah.
So am I understanding correct? He's still in the business right now, like working it.
Well, he does. So we have 2 businesses. We have Swift Printing and we have Swift Realty. And he's definitely in the day-to-days for Swift Realty. When it comes to Swift Printing, he is more of like an advisory role. Like, hey, if there's like something that pops up that we need advice on, and I don't know if this works for you in your business, but it seems like the last person you ask has like the best advice after you've already gone through like several people. You're like, oh, how do you think we should do this? And you'll ask, the 2 closest people, and then you're like, still not feeling good about it. So then I'll go and ask him something, and he'll like have like the perfect solution. And I'm like, why didn't I just come to you first? He's very good of on the fly thinking, things that sometimes take me a little bit longer to come up with the right words. He'll just be like, oh no, Jess, do this real quick. And I'm like, oh, I literally marinated on that for 45 minutes in bed last night, and here you came up with a solution in 30 seconds. So yeah. Yep. So yeah, he's in the day-to-days on some things. And then it also depends on the day of the week too, because him and my mom have you know, my mom raised kids, worked with family business, and now, you know, it's her time too. So they, if it's a nice day, they're gonna do some fun stuff together, which is great because it's just cool to really have parents that are in love. And so, and they genuinely like really, really, really love each other, almost to a point where all of us kids are like, but
Oh,
it's
I
a great
love
thing to
it.
see. And so it's good that my mom and my dad get to finally like do their time, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, they put in the work. They raised the kids. They built the business. Well, continued building the business,
yeah.
and now they get to like enjoy the fruits of their labor. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And they I think I told you this already once, but my mom, I took her job at the office and she watches my babies 3 days a week. So yeah.
Oh yes,
So
that's right.
yeah.
So
Yep.
she's still helping out with the babies.
That's right. Yeah. Well, when you're really good at it, you know, just gotta
Yeah,
keep going. So
yeah, exactly. Okay, now I wanted to bring this one up because I think that you were a flipping superhero for this, and this says volumes about Swift printing. Okay, so when we first talked, the building that your business is in had some major damage, and yet, like, you guys were navigating all that, but all of your orders were still on track, and you still were so concerned about your clients and making sure that everything was on task. Like, how in the world do you manage everything?
I really honestly don't know, Deb. It's just kind of like, all right, we're humans. Like I have to just take like one scenario at a time. And I know if I like dwell in it, I'm not gonna get anywhere. So as I told you, yeah, I was like, all right, it's first business day of the year. I'm just gonna crush it, you know? And then we had that fire flood, and we're actually still kind of finishing up that process. And so I just try to look at it as the mindset is like the show must go on. We're just gonna take it one day at a time. um, I think the hardest thing for me is just knowing that stress that goes on our team at Slip Printing, because I just know we've been through a lot. You know, it was hard with COVID, and in a sense, I feel like we were still kind of recovering from, uh, well, even before COVID. I feel like we had just fully recovered from like the recession of like 2009. Like it was like, all right, we're in a good spot. Like it feels good because when that happened, it was actually pretty hard on our business. And so we're feeling good for that. And then the pandemic happened. And then, you know, we're still in the pandemic and not belittling that
Yeah.
at all. But then the fire, um, and then and then the first week of April or last week of March or something, we had a couple people out with COVID, and you know, we're a nimble staff. And so it just kind of
Oh,
is like one thing after another, but I just take it one day at a time, and just try not to put too much stress on everyone at the office, because I don't feel like I'm above anyone in the sense, oh, I can handle more, because that's not the case, because I am human. But I want to take that burden off our team whenever possible. But we have such an amazing group of people that care themselves, and so I know they take their work very personally, and I just wish I could help alleviate that stress. And so just trying to get to the next point on the list so we can at least see some progress is my main goal. And I could just, you know, it's hard. I feel like, and you know this too, like back in business 30 years ago, you didn't have to do so many things. Like now, social media and your website and everything, I mean, that's two or
mhm.
three people's full-time job. And in a small business, it's kind of hard to get all that stuff done and then still keep your pricing competitive with the big guys. And so I just, I'm rambling on for you here now, but I just really, really enjoy it. And it's almost like a puzzle, or I'm not that great at chess, but like a chess game. You know, you're just trying to figure out, okay, what's the path of least resistance where I can just have these little wins daily. And I'm a super hyper in the diaper type person. So, you know, every like when I get excited when someone like wants a quote and I email the quote, like I feel great about it. Like I'm just, yes, like this is amazing. Kind of like I feel people feel like when they go to happy hour. That's kind of how I feel Monday morning. And
Yes.
so I used to try to tone down who I am and think like I should just be more and, you know, not all this excitement. But I am who I am. And I think that's kind of what gets me through the hard times. So,
Yes. Um, I was just talking to a friend recently, and I know that we hear this all the time, but I'm like, we need to stop apologizing for our too muchness. Like, no, we're not too much. We're a ray of freaking sunshine,
yes.
and that is okay. We're not going to
Yes.
be for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, and I also love that you brought up business is like chess, or like a challenge. I personally have said that like a million times, but I put it in the sense of running a business is like a game. It's a challenge that I am so excited to figure out that next step. And I don't know what that's going to be. And then it's awesome when you get like inquiries, because then it's almost like new players
Yeah.
that are coming to the game. And it's like, oh, we have new friends. And
Except
we
I
get to
knew I
work
liked you,
together.
but I feel like we have a lot more in common than I even thought we did. So this is cool.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
As we're going through this, I'm like, oh, this is completely like coffee chat where it's like, oh, we are a lot alike. Um, okay,
Good.
so I have one last question for you.
Sure.
What advice would you give to a small business owner who is hoping to make their business into the family business?
Sure. Um, Got to know your numbers. Like, the heart and soul is very, very important. But at the end of the day, you have to be thinking about making a profit. And with those profits, you're able to do a lot of great things. I think I told you before, we're a certified B Corporation, and I
Yes.
absolutely love that mission. And I think a lot of businesses that are trying to build a family business have that same mindset, because you're thinking sustainability and long-term things. And if you're heading that direction, then you are thinking of the bigger picture in the world and not just the next quarter sales. But knowing those numbers and thinking of sustainability, but at the end of the day, knowing that you'll need profits to take your business to the next level. And everyone says, make sure you have your strategy and your strategic plan in place. And I don't think that needs to be necessarily like, all right, we're going on a retreat and we're writing this all down. But I think this is another point. So knowing the numbers and including your kids early on. So
Yes.
just like how our parents included us, and I'm not saying you let them know all the headaches, but leading with a grateful heart. So, one of my biggest concerns is making sure that my kids are going to be grateful for the hard work and not just become entitled spoiled brats, which I think all of us parents have that concern, whether it's a family business or not. But reminding them like, oh, we're on this family vacation because, grandma busted her butt and took us, to this nice resort, or, we're at this nice dinner because, daddy worked really hard that day, or, his whole life, or just slipping those type of gratefulness comments so they can see both not just the good stuff and the rewards, but understanding sacrifice was made for us to be able to have this lifestyle. So those are my 2 cents. And me, I could keep talking all day, but I think those are the 2 most important things.
Well, and I just saw this little like blurb this morning that said, be careful when you look at someone and say, must be nice. Like, it's not just, it didn't, like, all this didn't just happen. Like, being able to go to the nice resort or having the nice car or, having the successful business, it didn't just happen. It took hard work, long hours, sacrifices from everyone. Like, it's more than the person who's working. It's sacrifices from the family too, and an understanding that working hard, like, you do have fruits of your labor.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jess. Sorry, I just completely fumbled your name. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. And where can everyone continue to follow you?
Sure. Well, I'm not, all my Instagram stuff is all on like my kids. So I don't know if anyone wants to see that, but for our business one is kind of fun. We've been trying to do more history of print and type things. And our handle is Swift Printing 404, I think. Let me pull it up. I should know this before I even get on the interview with you, right? We changed the name. Yeah, Swift Printing 404 on Instagram. And it's the same thing on Facebook as well. And also our website is swiftprinting.com. So pretty simple. Always happy to, our tagline is all that its name implies, which people are like, what does that mean sometimes? And I'm like, any printing you can think of, we can do swiftly. And they're like, whoa, mind blown. Like anything. I mean, not anything, but pretty much. So if we can't do it, we'll let you know or figure out how to. So
Love it. Well, thank you. And we will chat with you soon.
thanks, Deb. Appreciate it. Bye.